Hello, my cookies, and welcome. Welcome to Russell Cooks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, I have pan-seared pork chops. I'm going to try and make kind of like a gochujang butter-inspired sauce. I want something a little bit sweet, a little bit zesty, a little bit tart to complement that pork flavor. I'm also going to make a really simple bulgur salad on the side. It's not tabbouleh, but it's pretty close. All right, we're not going to use tomatoes. We're not going to use cucumbers. We're going to keep it really simple. So now that we know what we're doing, let's gather our ingredients. For the bulgur side, I have some bulgur, some cilantro, some scallion, and a little bit of chicken broth, bone broth, chicken stock, veg stock, water, all fine. And then the bulgur, we're going to throw in a little tahini and a little lemon. For the pork, I have a couple of double-thicc, between 2 and 2.5 inches thick. These are pretty thick. I've already brined them. I'm going to walk through the brining. You're going to need an onion. We're going to use some of the scallion. I got brown sugar and salt. That's pretty much the brine. And for our pork, I'm going to be using Aleppo. I'd prefer some Asian dried peppers here, but I'm going with Aleppo. I love Aleppo. But if you have kind of like those Asian dried crushed red peppers that are spicy, those might be perfect. I got garlic, I got olive oil, and I got butter. So now that we know what we're doing and we've gathered our ingredients, let's get started. I'm going to start with the bulgur because it kind of needs to sit. I'm going to start by boiling maybe 1.25 cups of this. A little bit more than a cup. I'm going to get it in my pot. I'm just going to bring it up to a boil. I'm going to do a cup. Again, this scales. I like 1 cup liquid to 1 cup bulgur. I'm just going to make enough kind of for a side or two. I know my kids won't eat it. I'm going to go rinse it. So I got my rinsed bulgur. Just going to put it in here. Let's get my 1 cup of liquid here. See, I got a little remainder. That's fine. Now I'm going to cover this. Just let it sit. We'll get to you later. Let's make the brine. 1.5 tablespoons of sugar and 1.5 tablespoons of salt per chop. Let's mix it around. We got this. Rub it over all the sides on your bone-in pork and let it sit. And after a while, it'll draw out some moisture and then the pork will suck it back in. It'll kind of liquefy, kind of like this. Now I had these in a container. I let it sit in the fridge. Up to 24 hours is ideal. Minimum of an hour. This is kind of like a make ahead. Do it in the morning, go to work, come, you can cook them. It's gonna keep that pork nice and juicy. If your pork chops are a little thinner, less time is fine, but I don't want those thin chops for this. I'm going to be doing it in a HexClad non-stick skillet. I am going to be adding a little bit of fat. I want that fat in there. I want more than what's going to render off. And you can start it in a cold skillet, a hot skillet. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to start it in a medium heated skillet with some oil. First, we got to pat them dry. I'll pat the other side dry once I get it in the pan. Just going to add a little bit, maybe a tablespoon. Heating this up over medium heat. These pork chops are going to take anywhere between 12 and 20 minutes to cook. They're on the thicker side, so I'm thinking about 20 minutes. I'm going to be flipping them every 2 minutes. Now, this is a method I use for steaks as well. We're not cooking these to medium rare, though. Too low. 140 degrees. Make sure you have your meat thermometer. Also, remember, these are bone-in. It's going to add a little bit of flavor. It's also going to protect a little bit of that meat from the heat. That meat will look pink even though it is cooked through. That is normal. Make sure you temp these, though. You don't want undercooked pork. So I'm just going to heat this up maybe 3 minutes. I don't want the oil smoking. I just want my pan a little bit warm. All right, here we go. Got a nice, gentle sizzle. Got a little yin and yang. Now I'm going to pat these other sides dry. Moisture is the enemy of browning. Let's keep it on medium for now, and I'm going to flip it about every 2 minutes. While this is going, let's cut up a little bit of onion. I am going to make a pan sauce out of this, kind of a spicy, buttery pan sauce. So I just have a white onion here. It's a little bit more mild, not as sweet. I'm only going to use about half of it, and this is pretty big. Let's dice this up 1/4 to 1/2 inch pieces. I think this is probably plenty. All right, it's time to flip these. Okay. We got our onion. All right, so we got our scallions. Make sure they're nice and washed. Cut the roots off. Now, these don't have a lot of white, so I'm going to get into a little bit of the green here. I'll kind of try and cut it where it first kind of branches out. All right, I think it's been about 2 minutes. We're going to flip it again. I'm going to drop it down to medium-low. I'm just going to let that ride on medium-low. Slice up these scallion whites. I'm just going to throw them in with my onions. They'll go in the pan sauce just to use them up. I'll use up my scallion greens as well. I'll put that in with the bulgur. A little trick to cutting these nicely so you can wrap them in a paper towel like this. You can also do this with chives. And it just helps keep them bundled up. I'm not going to bother. Man, it was such a better cut with it. I should bother. All right, set that aside. Let me flip these again. Ooh, yeah, we're getting dark. Dropping my heat down too low. So those sugars are burning. What else we got? We need some garlic going. I'm going to do about 4 cloves. Oh, we got to flip. I'm going to do these on the side now. Four garlic cloves. I'm mincing it with a mincer. Don't judge me. I kind of stand it up against the edge here so I can get this nice little bit. I'm going to try and get this little bit right here. I'm just going to stand it up. You got to lean it against the side of the pan, lean it against the side of the pan. Let's go back. I'm on low heat, lowest heat possible. Sometimes you need to finagle the bone here just to make sure you get nice and flat. This is kind of tilted. There we go. 2 minutes. You know what? I should temp this. I haven't temped these yet. Yeah, so I'm at 110 right now. And I want it to be around 140. I think pork, they say you want to get it up to 145. The carryover cooking here should get it up to 145. All right, let's flip these again. I know it's looking a little dark. That's fine. That's the sugars. See this spot right there? That's why I like a little bit more oil. It'll come in contact with that heat better. So I'm going to add a teeny bit of oil here. I'm going to get it on even lower heat. All right, let's check in on our bulgur. Let's finish it off. Boom, look at that. Got some cilantro. Let me flip these chops again. All right, I'm just going to mince up maybe a 1/4 cup of cilantro. I love bulgur. It's cracked wheat. Sorry for all the gluten-free people here. I got maybe a 1/4 cup chopped up cilantro. I'm just going to fluff it a little bit with my fork here. All right, I'm going to add a handful of scallions. I'm going to add a little tahini. Now, I like this. It's got some pepper in it. It's going to add a little zing. It's also got some citric acid. Add a little zestiness. So I'd say maybe a teaspoon of tahini. Let's go ahead and get some lemon zest. Let's get a little 1/4 or so, half teaspoon lemon zest. And then let's do a squeeze of lemon over this. About a tablespoon. And then maybe a tablespoon of olive oil. A little fatty richness here. Season it with a little bit of salt. Start with a 1/4 teaspoon. Let's go ahead and fluff this up. Should kind of be wet. That's fine. That's dressed. I want a little bit more spice. I'm going to put in a little bit of Aleppo here, half teaspoon, and a little bit more tahini. All right, we're going to let this sit and the flavors meld. All right, let's temp these. All right, we're there. We're going to get our sauce going as well. I got a couple black specks in here, just hunks of sugar that spilled off. I'm just going to get those out of the pan. The other stuff, I'll leave in. Medium heat. Just going to saute my onions here. It's going to take about 5 minutes. And this is letting those pork chops rest. You should let them rest 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to drop it down to low. I'm telling you, HexClad pans get hotter than you might think. All right, I'm going to add all that garlic. Next, I'm going to add a hefty amount of Aleppo pepper here. Let's start with a tablespoon. And by start with a tablespoon, I mean end with 2 tablespoons of Aleppo pepper. Want to cook this for about 30 to 60 seconds. I'm just going to add a whole bunch of butter to it. You want cold butter here. Taking it off the heat, 4 tablespoons cold butter. Just want that residual heat here. Let's hit it with a bunch of scallions. Scallion greens. This looks fantastic. All right, let's plate this up. Let's get our pork chop. All right, let's dig in. So juicy. Big hunk of pork comes right in, and then boom, that sauce just comes. You get the scallion, that onion, the butteriness, that richness, and then bam, right at the end, you get the heat. Can you see the juices? Can you see? Let's get into a little bit of this bulgur. Boom. Oh my God. I like this combo. Bulgur goes in, boom, nuttiness. You just get that bulgur nuttiness. Then you get a little bit of that lemon, and then the richness from a little bit of that olive oil, but it's still pretty tart. And then you get that citric acid hits you with the pepper. Good nuttiness there. That's nice. That's why you rinse the bulgur. Otherwise, the first thing I get will be bitterness. This is nicely cooked. The carryover might have taken it a little bit above where I wanted it to go, but it's still super juicy, and that's why you brine it. Look at this. Too much Aleppo. I should have just done a tablespoon. I like the butter sauce here because the majority of the fat on the pork is on the outside. It doesn't have the marbling that steak does. So I like richer sauces that kind of help give the pork a little bit of richness. Thanks so much for tuning in. That was a double thick pork chop with peppery butter sauce and a quick bulgur salad. If you like what you saw, don't forget to check me out on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks so much. And remember, the best way to support the channel, if you like this, is to subscribe on YouTube and shop at any of my affiliate links. I appreciate you all. I hope to see you next time. Take care.